Reading more Jubilees. You just, you shut this off. Okay. Okay. Don't worry, we're drinking coffee right now. Feels like I drank beer though. It was a great Sabbath yesterday. Or today still. So I'm thinking of it. Praise yeah. We were on Jubilees chapter 3. And on the 6 days of the second week we brought according to the word of Yah to Adam all the beasts and all the cattle and all the birds and everything that moves on the earth and everything that moves in the water according to their kinds and according to their types, the beasts of the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that which moves on the earth on the fourth day, and that which moves in the water on the fifth day. And Adam named them all by their respective names as he called them, so was their name. And on these 5 days Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth, but he was alone and found no helpmate for him. And Yah said to us, it is not good that man should be alone. Let us make a helpmate for him. And Yah, our Creator, caused a deep sleep to fall on him, and he slept. And he took for the woman one rib from among his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from among his ribs. And he built up the flesh in its stead, and built the woman. And he awoke Adam out of his sleep, and on awaking he rose on the 6th day. And he brought her to him, and he knew her, and said to her, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman, because she was taken from man. Therefore man and wife will be one, and therefore a man will leave his father and his mother, and cleave to his wife, and they will be one flesh. And was given to keep in their defilement for a male 7 days, and for a female 7 days. And after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. But they brought his wife in on the 18th day. And after this she entered into the Garden of Eden. And for this reason the command is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she will remain in her uncleanliness 7 days. Oh wait, we already read 3, didn't we? Or I'm gonna read it again because I don't recall enough of this. All right. In 33 days she will remain in the blood of her purifying, and she will not touch any hallowed thing, nor enter into the sin 80 days. And when she had completed these 80 days, we brought her into the Garden of Eden, for it is holier than all the earth besides those days, that she should not touch no hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until these days for the male or female child are accomplished. This is the law and testimony which was written down for Israel, in order that they should observe it all the days. And in the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work, and we instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. And he tilled the garden, and was naked, and did not know it, and was not ashamed. And he protected the garden from the birds and beasts and cattle, and gathered its fruit, and ate, and put aside the residue for himself and for his wife. And after the completion of the 7 years, which he had completed their 7 years exactly, and in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman, and the serpent said to the woman, Has Yah commanded you, saying, You will not eat of every tree of the garden? And she said to it, Of all the fruit of the trees of the garden, Yah has said to us, Eat but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yah has said to us, You will not eat thereof, neither will you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die, for Yah knows that on the day you will eat thereof, your eyes will be open, and you will be as gods, and you will know good and evil. See how cunning that was, The woman didn't die that day, but she died. And the woman saw that the tree, that it was agreeable and pleasant to the eye, and that its fruit was good for food, and she took thereof and ate. And when she had first covered her shame with fig leaves, she gave thereof to Adam, and he ate, and his eyes ate. And he said to her, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your pains. In sorrow you will bring out children, and your return will be to your husband or man, and he will rule over you. And he also said to Adam, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat thereof, the ground is cursed for your sake. He will bring out thorns and thistles for you, briars and thorns. So a man has to go and engage in the harvest and try to save souls. A woman has to fight against covetousness. Men and women have to fight against covetousness, to be content there with what they have and trust in Yah. And you will eat bread in the sweat of your face. I wonder if that part's in the main canon, like that. And you will eat bread in the sweat of your face until you return to the earth from where you were taken, from the Garden of Eden. And on that day on which Adam went out from the garden, he offered as a sweet savor an offering frankincense, galbanum, and stag and spices in the morning with the rising of the sun from the day when he covered his shame. And on that day the mouth of all beasts and of cattle and of birds and of whatever walks and of whatever moves was closed, so that they could no longer speak. The animals used to talk. There it is. It's right there in Jubilees. Oh, for they had all spoken with one another with one lip and with one tongue. Be sitting there talking to a bunch of birds and cows and ink in Hebrew. Or yeah, they would be having conversations, man. That reminds me of Romans 8. I'm gonna continue though. Adam and his wife went out from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Adam and his wife went out from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Elda, in the land of their creation. And Adam called the name of his wife in the Garden of Eden. Shalom Aleichem. Are you Muslim? Do you eat biblically clean? Do you refrain from Christmas and Easter and all the idolatry? So I think there's going to be a lot of Muslims that find Yeshua because the people in the churches failed at actually doing what the Bible says. I'm going to continue on in 4 because we already read 3 yesterday, and then night. Friday we 3. Okay. And in the third week, in the second Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the fourth, she gave birth to Abel. And in the fifth, she gave birth to her daughter, Awan. And in the first year of the third Jubilee, Cain slew Abel because God accepted the sacrifice of Abel and did not accept the offering of Cain. And he slew him in the field, and his blood cried from the ground to heaven, complaining because he had slain him. And Yah reproved Cain because of Abel, because she had slain him. And he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother. And he cursed him on the earth. And on this account it is written on the heavenly tablets, Cursed is he who strikes his neighbor treacherously. And let all who have seen and heard it say so. For Yah, our Creator, all the sin which is committed in the heavens and on earth and in light and in darkness and everywhere. And Adam his wife mourned for Abel 4 weeks of years. And in the fourth year of the fifth week they became joyful, and Adam knew his wife again, and she bore him a son. And in the sixth week he begot his daughter Azurah. And Cain took his sister Awan to be his wife, and she bore him Enoch at the close of the fourth Jubilee. In the first year of the first week of the fifth Jubilee, houses were built on the earth, and Cain built a city, and called his name after the name of his son Enoch. This has interested me before. There was an Enoch from Cain, and then an Enoch that descended from Seth. And Adam knew his wife Eve, and she bore 9 more sons. And in the fifth week of the fifth Jubilee, Seth took his sister Azurah to be his wife, and in the fourth year of the sixth week she bore him Enos. I think that might be the actual Enos. Maybe not. Maybe. He began to call on the name of Yah on the earth, and in the seventh Jubilee, in the third week, Enos took his sister Noam to be his wife, and she bore him a son in the third year of the fifth week, and he called his name Kenan. And at the close of the eighth Jubilee, Canaan took his sister Meluleth to be his wife, and she bore him a son in the ninth Jubilee. In the first week, in the third year of this week, and he called his name Mahalalel. And in the second week of the 10th Jubilee, Mahalalel took to himself Dinah to be his wife, the daughter of Berechiel, the daughter of his father's brother, and she bore him a son in the third week in the 6th year, and he called his name Jared. For in his days the messengers of Yah descended on the earth, those who are named the Watchers, that they should instruct the children of men, and that they should do judgment and uprightness on the earth. That's the good Watcher's task. And then there's those fallen Watchers that went against it. And in the 11th Jubilee, Jared took to himself a wife, and her name was Barakah, the daughter of Resugel, a daughter of his father's brother, in the fourth week of this Jubilee, and she bore him a son in the 5th week, and in the 4th year of the Jubilee, he called his name Enoch. Okay, so there's the other Enoch, and he was the first among men that are born on earth who learned writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of the heavens according to the order of their months in a scroll, that men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony, and he testified to the sons of man among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the Jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Sabbaths of the years as we made them known to him. And what was and what will be he saw in a vision of his sleep, as it will happen to the children of men throughout their generations, until the day of judgment. He saw and understood everything. Yeah, these 6 Jubilees of years, and they showed him everything which is on earth and in the heavens, the rule of the sun, and he wrote down everything, and he testified to the Watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men. for these had begun to unite themselves with them, so as to be defiled with the daughters of men. And Enoch testified against them all. And he was taken from among the children of men, and we conducted him into the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor. And behold, there he wrote down the condemnation and judgment of the world and all the wickedness of the children of men. And on account of it, Yah brought the waters of the flood on all the land of Eden, for there he was set as a sign that he should testify against all the children of men, that he should recount all the deeds of the generations until the day of condemnation. And he burned the incense of the sanctuary, even sweet spices acceptable before Yah on the mountain. For Jehovah has 4 places on the earth, the Garden of Eden, and the mountain of the east, and this mountain on which you are this day, Mount Sinai and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for a sanctification of the earth. Through it the earth will be sanctified from all its guilt and its uncleanliness throughout the generations of the world. And in the 14th Jubilee, Methuselah took to himself a wife, Edna, the daughter of Azrael, the daughter of his father's brother. In the 3rd week, in the 1st year of this week, he begot a son and called his name Lamech. And in the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Lamech took to himself a wife, and her name was Betanos, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. And in this week she bore him a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, This one will comfort me for my trouble and all my work, and for the ground which Yah has cursed. And at the close of the 19th Jubilee, in the 7th week, in the 6th year thereof, Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation, and he was the first to be buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years, for 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens, and thereof it was written concerning the tree of knowledge. On the day that you eat thereof you will die. For this reason he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. At the close of this Jubilee, Cain was killed after him in the same year, for his house fell on him, and he died in the midst of his house, and he was killed by its stones. Oh man, it looks like he got pulverized. It does. You could stumble at the stone, or it could fall on you and get pulverized. I wonder if there's some significance there about that. He was killed in righteous judgment, and by a stone he was killed in righteous judgment. For this reason it was ordained on the heavenly tablets, with the instrument with which a man kills his neighbor, with the same he will be killed. After the manner that he wounded him, in like manner they will deal with him. And in the 25th Jubilee, Noah took to himself a wife, and her name was Emzerah, the daughter of Rachel, the daughter of his father's brother. In the 1st year, in the 5th week, and in the 3rd year thereof she bore him Shem. In the 5th year thereof she bore him Ham, and in the 1st year, in the 6th week, she bore him Japheth. So, yeah, do unto your neighbor as you'd have done unto you. That's heavy. You don't wanna screw up that way, like Cain did. I can find that later. I think I'll just bait for now. brother of mine left a vape here at Asher's house that has been on 0% for like since I've been using it. I've charged it like twice, or and it came charged, and it just never runs out, even though it says it has none. It's like it just keeps going and going. Coffee, nicotine, cobwebs are off. Keep reading. Alright, chapter 5. And it came to pass when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the messengers of Yah saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look on, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose, and they bore sons to them, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way. Men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth alike, all of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was evil continually. And Yah looked on the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its order, and all that were on the earth had worked all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh on the face of the earth. Behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and are kept separate. And a command went out against their sons from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword and removed from under the heavens. And he said, my spirit will not always abide on man, for they are also flesh, and their days will be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other, until they all fell by the sword, and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction, and after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yah. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left even one of them. He did not judge according to all their wickedness, and he made for all his works a new righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind always. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they do not walk therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is nothing in the heavens, or on earth, or in light, or in darkness, or in Sheol, or in death, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all, he will judge the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is he who will receive gifts. If he says that he will execute judgment on each, if one gave everything that is on the earth, he will not regard the gifts of the person of any, nor accept anything at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And all the sons of Israel, it has been written and ordained, that if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. For it is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from all their guilt once each year. And as for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom Yah saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, and according as it was commanded regarding him, and he had not departed from anything that was ordained for him. And Yah said that he would destroy everything which was on the earth, both men and cattle and beasts and birds of the air, and that which moves on the earth. And he commanded Noah to make himself an ark, that he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him, in the 27th Jubilee of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new moon, on the first month, 1307 a.m. And he entered in the 6th year thereof, 1308, that we brought to him in the ark, and Yah closed it from outside on the 17th evening, and Yah opened 7th, began to pour down water from the heavens 40 days and 40 nights, and the fountains of the deep also sent up waters until the whole world was full of water. And the waters increased on the earth, and waters rose 15 cubits above all the high mountain earth 5 months, 150 days. And in Revelation, it says something about 5 months too. I wonder if that has anything to do with that. And the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. And on the new moon, in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of the heaven were restrained. And on the new moon, on the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into the deep below. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and on the new moon of the 1st month, the earth became visible. And the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week in the 7th year, 1309 a.m. thereof. And on the 17th day in the 2nd month, the earth was dry, and on the 27th thereof he opened the ark, and sent out from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving thing. I'll be back. Tornillo un poco de café, por favor. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab some coffee. Okay. Continue on chapter 6. Yeah, if you like listening to Jubilees, make sure you are in the main canon of scripture in the Bible daily, and this stuff will make more sense the way it's supposed to. Otherwise, you could go off some vain imaginings in that. You don't want to do that. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went out from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth. For everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox and a goat and a sheep and kids and salt and a turtle dove and the young of a dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured an offering mingled with oil thereon, and sprinkled wine, and scattered frankincense over everything, and caused an attractive savor to arise acceptable before Yah. And Yah smelled the attractive savor, and he made a covenant with him that there should not be a flood to destroy the earth any more, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And you increase and multiply on the earth, and become many on it, and be a blessing on it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given things and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food. As the green herbs, I have given you all things to eat. Your blood of your lives be required. At the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, I will require the blood of man. Don't shed blood, don't eat blood. And you increase and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yah forever throughout all the generations of the earth in this month. whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood will be shed. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beast or of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed will be rooted out of the land. And command the sons of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may continually be before Jehovah. And for this law there is no limit of days, for it is forever. They'll observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day at the time of morning and evening they will seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yah, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And he gave a sign to Noah and his sons, that there should not be a flood on the whole earth again. He set his bow in the cloud for a sign of the perpetual covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason is it ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the celebration of weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation until the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, until the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death his sons did away with it, until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob and his children observed it up to your days. And in your days the sons of Israel forgot it, until you celebrated anew on this mountain. And commanded the sons of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations, for a command to them. 1 day in the year, in this month, they will celebrate the festival. For it is the celebration of weeks and the celebration of first fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraved concerning it. Celebrate it according to what is written and engraved, so that it would only be in the land. And we're in the refreshing of the covenant to keep the 10 Commandments neat, biblically clean. The Rainbow Covenant, we just read a bit about in chapter 6. And go on my community section and watch my brothers and sisters' videos. For I have written in the scroll of the first law, and that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its seasons 1 day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the sons of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, 1 day in every year, and to not be feasting. Pop on the channel. Hopefully it gets through your head, to not be in sins of rebellion, which are as the sins of witchcraft. There's enough in scripture that you ought to know better, and I don't want a whole lot of you that I know, which it looks like that'll be the case, that you guys will go into captivity during the Great Tribulation. So remember Deuteronomy 4 and Leviticus 26. And on the new moon of the first month, on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever, and Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have thereby become a memorial to him. And on the new moon of the 1st month he was commanded to make for himself an ark, and on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. And on the new moon of the 4th month the mouth of the depths of the abysses beneath were closed, and on the new moon of the 7th month all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were open, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever. And thus they are ordained. And they placed them on the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks from one to another, their memorial from the first to the second, and from the second to the third, from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the command will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this command for a single year from year to year. And command the sons of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and this will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feast. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to it, this part's important regarding what I was just talking about, praise, yeah. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his commands, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will neglect their ordinances. So there's a lot of different people that have left the churches that went too far to the right. I was one of them. And they're all trying to do these holy feasts on different calendars, having calendar pissing contests instead of trying to find lost sheep and, you know, save souls like Yeshua commissioned us to. But, they're not fulfilling the royal law. They're feasting and feeding their own bellies, and it's not good. They're in rebellion, which is the sins of witchcraft. So they'll be open to a whole in a good way that they actually get chastised to repentance, and then they'll hear maybe, because I've been noticing that people are kind of concerned about what's happening in the world and that. So, but if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the sons of Israel will forget and will not find the paths of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. It's pointless what they're doing, having calendar pissing contests, because the calendar has been taken away. They're not in the land, and so they shouldn't be feasting. They should be looking for their lost brothers and sisters, right? For I know, and from now on will declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising, for the scroll lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feasts of the covenant and walk according to the feasts of the nations. And go and start doing Christmas and Easter and Halloween and all that shit, and walk according to the feast of the nations, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come on them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony. That's a big no-no. Ooh, they don't want to be rebelling like that. And ignorance, especially as it draws closer to the end times, ignorance is covetousness, because you're willfully ignorant. You have the internet, you have like the Bible and books like this, free for you to read online. It's available to everybody. So in former times, yeah, I had nodded at people's ignorance. We're not in the age of ignorance anymore. We're in the generation of Yah's wrath. So this is important stuff here in this chapter. And an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean. There was a pastor that had, Christmas tree, menorah, the so-called Star Davis, like he had all the idolatry, this so-called rabbi, right? And it that and then that's what happens in the Torah movements too. is that, since they don't go to fulfill the royal law according to Scripture, Leviticus 19, and wash their hands before supper, and they go and feast instead of looking for their lost brothers and sisters, um, something will happen where, they start letting the idolatry back in. Nobody really goes to rebuke it or anything. And they don't rebuke each other about all 613 commandments that they think they have to keep. They're putting themselves under sacrificial law and bondage. I've known people. I knew one person. I tried to tell them not that they didn't have to go and get circumcised, right? Um, you know, then what does Yeshua really profit them? They do what they do to be seen of men. Oh man. Anyways, I'm gonna continue on here. I want to keep reading. And an unclean day, a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. Yeah, they have their Christmas ham, their church pork dinners. They'd be all kinds of jacked up. On the right and on the left, they would be all kinds of jacked up. And their hope would be to find the day dawning in their heart, the true Sabbath, Saturday sunrise to Sunday sunrise. It's halfway in between the Pharisees' Babylonian lunar Sabbath and the church's unholy sun god day worship, right? And it's in the middle. Don't go too far to the right. Don't go too far to the left. Don't be over righteous. Don't be over wicked. And if people would get the right Sabbath, Peter said that the day dawning is a more sure word of prophecy, and you're not supposed to despise prophecy, because you could you should be afraid of what's happening on the earth. And as scary as prophecy could be, there's this comfort that comes when you actually know what's going on, because God's telling you, right? And then the more of the pieces that kind of snap together about that, you can make sure you're not fulfilling prophecy against yourself. You want to read the scriptures and look at if there's something that you might be doing that you would be fulfilling some dark prophecies against yourself, like parable of the vineyard with Isaiah 65 and 66. They went straight back to animal sacrifice, and that should wake people up to stop doing the feast too when they see things like that, right? Because they're denying the blood of Yeshua, right? They're not in the land, they're in rebellion, they're in sins of witchcraft, and there's no temple, right? There's going to be probably people that took this Nazarite vow or whatever that I think that they're going to be losing their minds during the time of the Exodus, because how are they not going to be exposed to any dead bodies when there's going to be dead bodies with flies around them everywhere? And so, I already seen some of them, and I love these people. I don't want them to have to go through what they're going to go through. I've known ones that were already losing their mind if they accidentally consumed a little bit of alcohol or whatever, and then they had to shave their head, and start their vow all over, and there's no temple. So it's like, are they stuck doing that, or can they receive, they could receive the sort of thing, right? I was one of them, right? And, you'll get clarity. But you have to keep the Ten Commandments and eat biblically clean and gather and learn and tell others in order to receive the spirit of truth. Otherwise, you're gonna be in la la land, even thinking that you're all good, and then you're gonna realize one day, no, you're not. You're gonna go into tribulation, right? And have to remember Deuteronomy 4 and Leviticus 26. Okay, chapter 7. And in the 7th week, in the first year thereof, in this Jubilee, Noah planted vines on the mountains of on which the ark had rested, named Lubar, one of the Arat mountains, and they produced fruit in the 4th year, and he guarded their fruit and gathered it in this year in the 7th month. And he made wine from that and put it into a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, until the first day on the new moon of the 1st month. And he celebrated with joy the day of this feast, and he made a burnt sacrifice to Yah, one young ox and one ram and 7 sheep, each a year old, and a kid of the goats, that he might make atonement thereby for himself and his sons. And he prepared the kid first and placed some of its blood on the flesh that was on the altar, which he had made, and all the fat he had laid on the altar where he made the burnt sacrifice, and the ox and the ram and the sheep, and he laid all their flesh on the altar. And he placed all their offerings mingled with oil on it, and afterward he sprinkled wine on the fire which he had previously made on the altar, and he placed incense on the altar, and caused the sweet savor to ascend acceptable before Yah his Creator. And he rejoiced and drank of this wine, he and his children, with joy. And it was evening, and he went into his tent, and being drunken, he lay down and slept, and was uncovered in his tent as he slept. And Ham saw his father Noah naked, and went out and took his 2 brothers outside. And Shem took his garment, and arose, he and Japheth, and they placed the garment on their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the shame of their father, and their faces were backward. And Noah awoke from his sleep, and knew all that his younger son had done to him. And he cursed his son, and said, Cursed be Canaan, he will be an enslaved servant to his brothers. And he blessed Shem, and said, Blessed is Yah, creator of Shem, and Canaan will be his servant. Yah will enlarge Japheth, and Yah will dwell in the dwellings of Shem, and Canaan will be his servant. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased, and that he had cursed his son, and he parted from his father, he and his sons with him, Cush and Mizraim, and Canaan. And he built a city for himself, and called its name after the name of his wife, Ne-el-Atamauk. And Japheth saw it, and became envious of his brother, and he too built a city for himself, and he called its name after the name of his wife, Adantidnes. And Shem dwelt with his father Noah, and he built a city close to his father on the mountain, and he too called its name after the name of his wife, Siddiqut-Libab. And behold, these 3 cities are near Mount Lubar, Siddiqut-Libab, fronting the mountain on the east, and Nelemetu on the south, and Adantides toward the west. Sorry, with these words, they sound like native language. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur. And Arphaxad, the son, was born 2 years after the flood. And Lud and Aram, the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Medai, Javan, Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. These are the sons of Noah. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to prescribe on his sons the ordinances and commands and all the judgments that he knew. And he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor. Oh, the 10 Commandments right here with Noah and Shem. Yeah, the covenants of promise are forever. You know, it's Yeshua freed us from sacrificial law. We have to come under the blood of the covenant. Okay. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to prescribe on his sons the ordinances and commands, all the judgments that he knew, and he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and honor father and mother, and love their neighbor, and guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. For owing to these three things the flood came on the earth, namely owing to fornication, wherein the watchers against the law of the ordinances went whoring after the daughters of men, and took wives for themselves of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanliness. And they begot sons, the Nephilim, and they were all different, and they devoured one another. And the giants slew Nephil, and Nephil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo mankind and one another. And everyone sold himself to work iniquity and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beasts and birds and all that moves and walks on the earth, and much blood was shed on the earth, and every imagination and desire of men they imagined was vanity and evil continually. And Yah destroyed everything from off the face of the earth because of the wickedness of their deeds, and because of the blood which they had shed in the midst of the earth, and he destroyed everything. And we were left, you and I, my sons, and everything that entered with us into the ark. And behold, I see your works before me, that you do not walk in righteousness, for you have begun to walk in the path of destruction, and you are parting from one another, and are envious of one another. And so it is that you are not in harmony, my sons, each with his brother. For I see and behold that the demons have begun their seductions against you and against your children. And now I fear on your behalf that after my death you will shed the blood of men on the earth, and that you too will be destroyed from the face of the earth. For whoever sheds man's blood, and whoever eats the blood of any flesh, will all be destroyed from the earth. And there will not be left any man that eats blood, or that sheds the blood of man on the earth, nor will there be left to him any seed or descendants living under any beast or cattle or whatever flies on the earth. And work a good work for your souls by covering that which has been shed on the face of the earth. And you will not be like him who eats with blood, but guard yourselves that none may eat blood before you. Cover the blood, for thus I have been commanded to testify to you and your children together with all flesh. And do not permit the soul to be eaten with the flesh, that your blood, which is your life, may not be required at the hand of any flesh that sheds it on the earth. For earth will not be clean from the blood which has been shed on it. For only through the blood of him that shed it will the earth be purified throughout all its generations. And now, my children, listen, work judgment and righteousness, that you may be planted in righteousness over the face of the whole earth. And your glory will be lifted up before my Creator, who saved me from the waters of the flood. And behold, you will go build cities for yourself, and plant in them all the plants that are on the earth, and moreover all fruit-bearing trees. For 3 years the fruit of everything that is eaten will not be gathered, and in the 4th year its fruit will be accounted holy, most acceptable before the Most High, Yah, who created the heavens and earth and all things. Let them offer in abundance the first of the wine and oil as first fruits on the altar of Jehovah, who receives it. And let the servants of the house of Yah eat what is left before the altar which receives it. And in the 5th year make the release, so that you release it in righteousness and uprightness, and you will be righteous, and all that you plant will prosper. For thus did Enoch, the father of your father, command Methuselah his son, and Methuselah his son Lamech. And Lamech commanded me all the things which his fathers commanded him. And I also will give you command, my sons, as Enoch commanded his son in the 1st Jubilees, while still living, the 7th in his generation. He commanded and testified to his son and to his son's sons until the day of his death. Oh, alright, chapter 8. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Arphaxad took to himself a wife, and her name was Resu Ejah, the daughter of Suzan, the daughter of Elam, and she bore him a son in the third year in this week, and he called his name Kenem. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found writing which former generations had carved on the rock, and he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it, and sinned owing to it, for it contained the teaching of the watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars and all the signs of the heavens. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And in the 13th Jubilee, in the second week, in the first year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Melchiah, the daughter of Madai, the son of Japheth. And in the fourth year she begot a son, and called his name Shelah, for he said, Truly I have been sent. And in the fourth year he was born, and Shelah grew up and took to himself a wife, and her name was Muach, the daughter of Kesed, his father's brother, in the 31st Jubilee, in the fifth week, in the first year thereof. And she bore him a son in the fifth year thereof. And he called his name Abner, and he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ezerah, and the daughter of Nabag. For in the days when he was born, the children of Noah began to divide the earth among themselves. For this reason he called his name Peter. In the first week, when one of us who had been sent was with them, and he called his sons, and they drew near to him, they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his three sons were to take in possession. And they reached out their hands and took the writing out of the bosom of their father Noah, and there came on the writing of Shem's lot, the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself and for his sons for the perpetual generations, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. And his portion goes toward the west through the midst of this river, and it extends until it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this river goes out and pours its waters into the sea of Miat. And this river flows into the great sea, and all that is toward the north is Japheth's, and all that is toward the south belongs to Shem, and it extends until it reaches Keraso. This is the bosom of the tongue which looks toward the south, and his portion extends along the great sea, and it extends in a straight line until it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks toward the south. For this sea is called the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And it turns from here toward the south, toward the mouth of the great sea on the shore of its waters, and it extends to the west of Arapha, and extends until it reaches the waters of the river Gihon, and to the south of the waters of Gihon to the banks of this river, and it extends toward the east until it reaches the Garden of Eden, to the south thereof, to the south, and from the east of the whole land of Eden, of the whole east thereof, it turns to the east and proceeds until it reaches the east of the mountain called Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came out by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever to his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came out for Shem and for his sons, and he remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy, for he had said, Blessed is Jehovah of Shem, and may Yah dwell in the dwelling of Shem. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of Yah, and Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed Yah, who had put the word of Jehovah in his mouth, and blessed Yah forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons to the generations forever, the whole land of Eden, the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east, and India on the Red Sea, and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Caphtor, and all the mountains of Sinir, and Amena, and the mountains of Ashur in the north, and all the land of Elam, Ashur, the west, until it was the sea of Muak, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends. And it goes out toward the north to the limits of Gedir, and it goes out to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, until it draws near to the river Gihon, and goes along the river Gihon until it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came out for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy forever for himself and his sons to their generations forever. And for Japheth came out the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeastward to the whole region of Gog, and to all the country east thereof, and it extends northward to the north, and it extends the mountains of Quelt toward the north, and toward the sea of Muak, and it goes out to the east of Gedir as far as the region of the waters of the sea, and it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Ephrag, and it extends eastward to the waters of the sea of Miat, and it extends to the region of the river Tina in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundary of its waters toward the mountain Rapha, and it turns toward the north. This is the land which came out for Japheth, that his sons as the portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons for their generations forever. 5 great islands and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither cold nor hot, but is of blended cold and heat. Praise, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's, I guess it's been rejected by a lot of the Torah movement, and they read Jasher instead. And Jubilees would be like the actual Jasher. Alright, I think I'll be back and I'll read like 2 more chapters and then get things situated. Okay. chapter 9. And Ham divided among his sons, and the first portion came out for Cush towards the east, and to the west of him for Mizraim, and to the west of him for Put, and to the west of him, and to the west thereof on the sea for Canaan. And Shem also divided among his sons, and the first portion came out for Elam and his sons to the east of the river Tigris, until it approaches the east, the whole land of India, and on the Red Sea on its coast, and the waters of Dedan, and all the mountains of Mebri and Elah, and all the land of Susan, and all that is on the side of Farnak, to the Red Sea and the river Tina. And for Asher came out the second portion on the land of Ashur, and Nineveh and Shinar, and to the border of India, and it descends and skirts the river. And for Arphaxad came out the third portion, all the land of the region of the Chaldees, to the east of the in the land of Era. And there came out for Lud the fifth portion, the mountains of Ashur, and all pertaining to them, until it reaches the great sea, and until it reaches the east of his brother Ashur. And Japhath also divided the land of his inheritance among his sons. And the first portion came out for Gomer to the east, from the north side to the river Tina. And in the north there came out for all Magog, all the inner portions of the north, until it reaches to the sea of Meat. And for Medai came out as his portion, that he should possess from the west of his two brothers to the islands, and to the coast of the islands. For Javan came out the fourth portion, every island, and the islands were which are toward the border of Lud. For Tubal there came out the fifth portion in the midst of the tongue, which approaches toward the border of the portion of Lud, to the second tongue, to the region beyond the second tongue, to the third tongue. And for Meshech came out the sixth portion, all the region beyond the third tongue, until it approaches the east of Gedir. And for Tiras there came out the seventh portion, 4 great islands in the midst of the sea, which reached the portion of Ham, and the islands of Kemeteri came out by lot for the sons of Arphaxad as his inheritance. And thus the sons of Noah divided to their sons in the presence of their father Noah, and he bound them all by an oath, invoking a curse on every one that thought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot. And they all said, So be it, so be it. So they said, Amen and Amen. For themselves and their sons forever throughout their generations, until the day of judgment, on which Yah will judge them with a sword and with fire, for all the unclean wickedness of their heirs, with which they have filled the earth with transgression and uncleanliness and fornication and sin. And in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead the children of the sons of Noah astray, and to make them err and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to their father Noah, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before Jehovah and said, Yah, of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy to me and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish as you did the sons of perdition. For your grace has been great toward me, and great has been your mercy to my soul. Let your grace be lifted up on my sons, and do not let wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day, of your servant, my creator, for these are malevolent and created in order to destroy. and do not let them rule over the spirits of the living, for you alone can exercise dominion over them, and do not let them have power over the sons of the righteous from now on and forevermore. And Yah, Creator, commanded us to bind all, and the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Yah, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them listen to my voice and do all that I will say to them. For if some of them are not left to me, I will not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And he commanded that one of us should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. We bound all the malevolent evil ones in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them we left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in a scroll as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah, and he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 jubilees and 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for testimony to the generations of the world, so that he should recount all the deeds of generation to generation until the day of judgment. And in the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year, in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife whose name was Lomna, the daughter of Sinir, and she bore him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Ru, for he said, behold, the children of men have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar. For they departed for the land of Ararat eastward to Shinar, for in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, go forth, let us ascend thereby into the heavens, and they began to build. And in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the bricks served them for stone, and the clay with which they had cemented them together was asphalt, which comes out of the sea and out of the foundations of water in the land of Shinar. And they built it 43 years. They were building it. Its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of a brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of one wall was 13 stadia, and of the other 30 stadia. And Yah, Creator, said to us, behold, they are one people, and they begin to do this, and now nothing will be withheld from them. Go forth, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and that they may be dispersed into cities and nations, and one purpose will no longer abide with them until the day of judgment. And Yah descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And he confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and then they ceased to build the city and the tower. For this reason, the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because Yah confounded all the language of the children of men there. And from there they were dispersed into they no longer understood one another's speech, and then they ceased to build. For this reason, the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because confounded all the language of the children of men there. And from there they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. And Yah sent a mighty wind against the tower and overthrew it on the earth. And behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon in the land of Shinar, and they called its name Overthrow. In the 4th week, in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 34th Jubilee, they were dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good. And he did not go into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is, to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward, from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. And his father Ham and his brothers Cush and Mizraim said to him, You have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if you do so, and your sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition you have settled, and by sedition your children will fall, and you will be rooted out forever. Do not dwell in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed are you, and cursed will you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, in the presence of our father Noah. But he did not listen to them and dwelt in the land of Lebanon, from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. And Japheth and his sons went toward the sea and dwelt in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged for a portion from Elam and Ashur and Arphaxad, his wife's brother, and he dwelt in the land of Media, near to his wife's brother until this day. And he called his dwelling place and the dwelling place of his sons Media after the name of their father Media. Alright, I think I'll leave it there for now. Go to straightasthegate.net and come and study with us. Learn Bible, actually. Anyways, praise Yah.